Welcome to. For me, this is a cause I feel passionately about. I'm Hugh Bayley, the MP for York Central. Some 15 or 16 years ago, when the last Conservative government proposed selling off the Forestry Commission land, we did something similar. I remember leading a protest ramble in Howsham Woods, but we've come to the heart of the Yorkshire Forest this time, to Dalby Forest, because this shows so clearly what Forestry Commission foresters do, which private foresters don't, and that's at the heart of the issue. 100 years ago, the government of a day realised that most of Britain's native forest had been cut down and saw it as an economic catastrophe, no trees for pit props. And the Forestry Commission was created to rebuild a nucleus of well-protected forest. And over the years it's built up the holding, and we now have, it's a minority of all the forest in Britain, but a minority that meets all the standards for biodiversity, good stewardship and public access. And you have standards which are not available universally in privately owned forest. I was astonished when the new coalition government decided in its first year to pick up where the previous Conservative government had failed and left off, because by doing so they're trying to swim against the tide. Labour MPs, people like me, were opposed, but what really stopped the government in its tracks was the voice of the big society, of ordinary people, who simply said this is not something that the public wants. The initial plans, which were being debated in a new law, a bill in the House of Lords, have been put on hold. The Secretary of State for the Environment, Caroline Spellman, has said that the privatisation plans have been suspended while a commission looks at the future of forest policy. And just a couple of days ago, the names of the commissioners were announced, and they're available on the government's website, www.defra, and they're a mixture of people who are prominent campaigners for nature and biodiversity and access, including the Chief of the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, the Chair of the Ramblers Association, the Chair of the National Trust and the Woodlands Trust, and also representatives of private landowning interests. And it's important that these commissioners, not, I regret to say, any of the local forestry groups like the Friends of Hag Wood or Friends of Dalby Forest, you obviously couldn't represent them all, but I think it would have been a good idea to have local user groups involved in the mix. But what we all have a responsibility to do is to submit our views to the Commission. They say they're going to solicit public views, and we should put our views to them. And I think we need to go on the offensive and not accept that some forest will be left, or that some access rights will be built in to land that is sold off. I think we should state the principle that we need a public forest to steward high standards to show the rest of those who manage forests what a well-managed forest can achieve. And one of the things I will be saying is I accept that some land will be bought and some will be sold as new land is planted, and particularly community access forests near urban areas are acquired. But that the overall policy should be each year to end up with more publicly owned forest rather than less publicly owned forest. On the access front, there are many groups here today: the British Horse Society, cyclists, ramblers, orienteers, who I'm sure will make the case for their right of access to their land. And it's extremely important. In the now abandoned consultation document the government put out, it said that all rights of way on privatised Forestry Commission land will be protected. Well, of course they would. The law says a right of way is protected. But we know in the past, when land has been privatised, the access which was previously available is reduced or undermined. And it's not just the access, it's the way townies like me get told what forests are and how the biodiversity is protected, how they operate. You would never have a visitor centre like this in a privatised forest. A privatised forest is there to grow timber and turn a profit. And some do provide public access, and that's a good thing. But you would never find them building an interpretation centre so that school kids could understand what happens in a forest, what a forest is. And I've seen here in Dalby before work to create good conditions for wildlife, good habitats, which we'll both see and hear more about this morning, when some foresters, acting in their own time, because the Forestry Commission has to stay neutral on the politics, but some of the foresters will take us out in groups, those who want to go, to explain what it is the Forestry Commission does, why Forestry Commission owned and run forests are different, and why they must be protected. People haven't come for speeches, so I'm going to stop now. I'm going to invite Mick Hoban, who represents Forestry Commission workers and their trade union, through their trade unions, to say a few words about the dangers they face with their numbers being reduced and what impact that might have on the way the Forestry Commission manages its affairs and the services they provide to the public. And then we also have on her way Mary Cray, the Labour Party's environmental spokesman, who may be here in time to speak, but she's been doing another speech earlier today. Could I ask you, thank you once again for coming, and say this: I don't think this is a battle that is lost. Last time, your voices as a public made a difference. Your voices made the government back off. And I really do think it's the voice from below which is the voice that the government can't ignore. They can ignore people like me on the opposition's benches in Parliament because we don't have the votes, but they can't avoid what their constituents are saying. So write to your MPs and please put your own submissions into this new commission. If anybody can't find out where to write, get hold of me. My number's in the York telephone directory. Anybody who hasn't got my email address and wants it, I'll give you a card. We'll stay in touch, and by working together, I really do think we can persuade the government this is a bad idea and it ought to be dropped. Thank you.